What's up, cuzzy wuzzies? What's up, YouTube? I'm BearHands, and welcome to another video on Last Epoch. I thought I'll make this a quick little video on the progress of our cycle starter. If you want, you can call it like a mini a diary milestone type of record, where we at with the character, what our progress was after a just over a week after launch. It took me a little bit longer to progress to this point than maybe your average streamers, because I do have a full-time job. And also, another factor was that we had tons of server issues on start. So for the first 3 to 4 days, we couldn't really play properly. So that took a lot of progress out of the build. And the majority of the progress that I managed to make was in the last kind of like 3 to 4 days. So I just wanted to make the video about, again, where we're at right now, what I think about the build so far, how the leveling went, because it is our cycle starter build that we went with. So here it is. So we did go with a cold Werebear build. If you want a full comprehensive big guide on the build, I have a video on it, a big video. It's literally the last video on my YouTube channel, so if you want to kind of like go into detail and understand this build a little bit better, I go through everything in detail in that video, so if you want, check it out. We just started from scratch, and now we're sitting pretty at level 60. We've just started running our monoliths. Yesterday we finished the campaign fully, all 9 acts. Excuse me. And yeah, I can tell you that the build, in my opinion, has performed even better than I anticipated. Even better than it did when I was testing it before launch, because while I was testing the build, again, it was before launch. The game was a little bit different. We didn't have patches, we didn't have updates, we didn't have changes to certain skills at the time. On launch, they changed certain things, they added more things, and by the way, the game is extremely fun now. It's so much more polished. Oh my god, I'm enjoying myself so much right now. It's like I had over 200 hours in the game prior to launch, in the beta stages, but on this playthrough, it's as if I'm having a brand new experience, because a lot of the models of the gear has been redone and remodeled and updated. They've updated and redone some monster appearances. There's some new, cool, unique-looking monster designs. They've updated and changed certain encounters on echoes and in the campaign itself. They added kind of more dynamic events that you have to go through in the campaign, and it feels so good. And also they polished the art direction, they polished the way the game looks, the lighting, the environments, everything is just so much better. I can't tell you how happy I am with the game right now in its current state. Yes, there was a little bump in the beginning of the launch with the server crashes and server issues. That was a little bit of a bummer, but after that, once that's been settled, the game had no issues. It's just been smooth sailing from then on. And anyway, back to the build. The build performed amazingly. Yes, we died a couple times, but that's just, you know, the nature of the game. It happens, especially on the league start. You will not have perfect gear. You will not have starting uniques. You will not have any of it. But that being said, cold Werebear, or just any Werebear build really in general, is so hard to kill. We've died maybe 2 or 3 times during the whole campaign, and that's it. Like, we are really hard to kill. So if any of you are concerned about how this build performs on hardcore, or during the leveling stages and whatnot. Like, do I go Werebear straight away, or do I just use whatever best skill is in the beginning and just use that instead because I don't want to die? This build is hardcore viable. I can put my stamp of approval on it. I was dying because I'm an idiot and I'm really bad at the game, but you can, if you know what you're doing and you're really looking after your resistances and you know exactly in which zone, which resistances you need most while you're in the campaign, because once you play through the campaign a couple times, you will know this information. Once you kind of like hitting those things and you keep stacking health, regeneration on this character and armor, you'll be fine. It's very hard to kill us. We're sustaining health all the time. We have a lot of leech. We're sustaining rage. Rage is like the least of our problems. We always have rage and ways to get it back. So we have like flat health regen, which is really good because we're stacking that affix everywhere. And on top of that, we have leech from our skills, from our weapons, and we attack really fast, so we do have a lot of regeneration on our build. So how would I suggest leveling this build? In the beginning, when you're just starting off, before you get to a Werebear form and before you specialize into Druid, what I would recommend is starting with Gathering Storm, having your Wolf, and having Totems. And of course, Fury Leap if you want to kind of like progress faster and run faster and just for traversal purposes, right? Because Gathering Storm right off the gate on its own is very powerful, and Totems do so much damage as well. So, until you get to Werebear form, which is around, depends on how you progress through the campaign, but it's around 15 to 20, level 15 to 20. Before that, I would just use Gathering Storm and Totems. Totems do so much damage, so together with Gathering Storm, you'll be just flying through the mobs, through bosses, everything just melts. But at the same time, while you're doing that and you have your first specialization slot open, because you will have access to swipe really early on, it's like one of the first skills as well, I would put swipe into a specialization slot, into the first slot, and keep putting points in it while you're leveling with other skills. Because the swipe will still level with you even if you're not using it, but the ability to kind of, once you swap to a Werebear form and you start using swipe and it already has certain skill points in its tree, very beneficial. It will immediately feel great once you start using it. So that's just my suggestion. In the beginning, in the first 15 to 20 levels, I would use this setup, but keep leveling swipe as a specialization skill. And then once you get Werebear form, once you get a second slot, put in your upheaval. Again, start putting points, rush into Erupting Earth. This is what makes upheaval an AoE skill. Once you get a third opening for the skills, put Werebear form and rush into Tremor Slam. Now, again, in my full comprehensive guide for this character, I explain all these trees in detail and explain what we're taking, why we're taking these things. So I'm not going to be going into like detail on that here, but you can still look at them the way they look. I just can tell you that on upheaval, you want to rush Erupting Earth. On Werebear, you want to rush Tremor Slam, and then everything else. Here, it doesn't really matter, but I would start with Aspect of the Panther and just going this way, and then going up here. Yeah, and once you have your Werebear form, the game just, once you've rushed into Tremor Slam, this is where the build starts to feel like it's putting together, like it's coming together. Like everything just starts working. You're using your swipe to generate a lot of rage, a lot of health, and then you use your maul. But when you're using a maul, you also use upheaval, and that creates cold damage that puts cold dot on enemies and everything else. So this is when you really start to feel the build come together. And after that, it's all just like a breeze. The character just starts doing so much damage. You're really tanky. If you're doing everything correctly, that is. Yeah, and then the rest is just like specializations into Warcry. Again, you want to rush into making it cold Warcry, because this is what will make Warcry freeze everything every time you Warcry. Instead of stunning opponents, you freeze them now. And it converts all the damage into cold damage. And remember, we're doing cold damage. This is our main damage dealing stat. So everything needs to be converted. We convert this to cold, we convert this to cold, and entangling roots we convert into cold too. So everything is just cold, cold, cold. By the way, Woodland Bear, yeah, I guess I would touch on that. I would not take Woodland Bear early on, because the maul becomes just too expensive to use. You would maul once and then half of your rage is gone. So I would put this like at the very end. I'm at level 17 on the skill right now, but if you feel like you're still struggling with your rage sustain, I would even push it further, and I would maybe max this out first. I would max this out before taking Woodland Bear. I took it a little bit early, as you can see. I took it at level 17. Level of the skill, that is. Because we're literally having zero problem sustaining rage right now, so for us it was fine. So these are your main skills. The passives, again, if you want to know this information in detail, I have it in my other video, but here we just went full points here, full points here. We took Harmony of Blades so we can dual wield, and Surviving in the Pack, also full points, and then the rest is all just Druid. All I will say is that Focused Wrath and Rancor is very important, because Rancor is what allows our rage to kind of not go down, because it does not decay when you're out of combat. So that's very important, because then when we're moving between packs or we're just not fighting at all, our rage does not go away. So it's very important. And then we just max these two things out for cold damage. It's amazing. We max this out for health regen, and we're working on maxing out our hide skin. Again, this is important. Just gives us tons of flat health and maximum health gained as endurance threshold, which is amazing. We might go a couple points into Shaman, because I do want to get to Windbringer and maybe Hailbringer for that Chill Chance Freeze Rate multi. Not sure about Shattered Heavens. If we have enough points left at the time, maybe. But these two is what I'm kind of looking for in the Shaman tree. Yeah, and overall, the performance, let me show you the performance of the actual build. So this is a last boss in the campaign, and she's very hard. She's the hardest boss in the campaign, I would say, even in the game, maybe in terms of mechanics. Like even some monolith bosses are not as difficult as Majasa, but look at how our build is performing on her. Because if you were, again, concerning about survivability of this build or the damage or anything like that, take a look at this. And again, at this point, I don't have any uniques. I have just random, rare, shady gear from the campaign, just leveling gear, nothing crazy. But I can literally stand there and face tank most of her attacks. And none of it. We have crazy health regen, as you can see. Her swipe usually one-shots characters, but it does nothing to us. We're completely wrecking her and just standing there, face tanking everything. So we had zero problems. And we're doing shit tons of damage. So, the build the build is incredible. As I said, it's very hard to kill us. We're doing tons of damage. We're not afraid of anything. You just have to be careful. The thing is, to survive, you have to keep attacking, because leech and health regen is through leech is what keeps us alive. If we're just running around and taking damage and not attacking anything, we will die. So you have to be mindful of that. You have to be in situations that you have to know that, okay, you can take heavy hits, you can take a lot of hits, you can take a lot of damage, but you have to also attack at the same time. Excuse me. Now, in terms of itemizations, again, nothing crazy here. All you're looking for on your weapons for the damage is flat cold damage, attack speed, leech, and that's about it. Maybe melee damage as well. Physical damage is not as important, but you can have it because our physical damage is still being converted into cold on skills. So the more physical damage, technically, the more damage we do. If you look at the skills themselves, like swipe is scaling with physical, melee, strength. Upheaval is scaling with cold, melee, strength, and attunement. So for that reason, we're scaling cold, we're scaling melee, and we're scaling melee cold damage. We're trying to get as much strength as possible, and attunement in certain cases if we can get it. Now, in terms of defenses, main things are, of course, resistances, health regen, armor. Main thing that keeps us alive is our regen and a lot of armor. Everything else is a plus, a bonus. That's it. Now, we don't really... This is still... Some of it is our leveling gear. We don't really have anything crazy right now. We just had these gloves drop, which was incredibly lucky for us. It was amazing. Our first unique glove drop in the cycle, and it's the exact gloves that we need for our build. Again, this is a very common drop that happens, but it was just nice to see that this was the first gloves that we dropped, and we just lucked out on what they were. Yeah, so if you don't have these gloves, that's okay. Eventually, you can either craft into these, or chances are you'll find them. They're very common, but it's a very important piece of gear because it gives us +1 to swipe. It gives us shit tons of cold damage. Gives us health. Gives us +1 to all attributes. Very, very, very nice piece of gear. Again, not necessary, but nice to have. The rest of the gear is just me kind of trying to balance my resistances and health. Again, see here, it's all resistances, a little bit of freeze rate. Here, I crafted tier 5 elemental damage, but mostly it's just so that I can have those resistances. Again, here, cold damage, resistance, health. Here, elemental damage, strength, resistances. Here, this is a very good rare base if we wanted to use a rare piece on the body armor, because as a base it gives us 50% cold damage. It can be lower than that, it can be more than that, but that's kind of the range. So you see the range there, it goes from 28 to 56. So as a base it gives us crap ton of cold damage, and then for the affixes you can just see whatever you need. You can opt for more health, for hybrid health, for health regen. I wish I had health regen on this instead, but we will be changing this to a unique piece of body armor anyway, which we need for this build. It's a piece I talked about in my other video, again, in the guide. If you want to know what it is, just check that video out. Helmet. This base is probably best in slot base for us. because it adds so much armor. It's unbelievable. So here you can see we have almost 1500 armor. If I take this helmet off, we're losing almost 1000 armor just from this helmet at all alone. So I would use this base, but then I would, you know, opt for different affixes. Like right now we have armor, but we have dodge rating, and we have attunement, strength. Strength and armor are the only two that kind of make sense. The other two, I wouldn't put them on the helmet. It's just the helmet that we found so far. I would go with, again, health, hybrid health, health regen. Armor is good as well, as I said, but, you know, maybe something else. Amulet, again, found this in the campaign ages ago. I'm using it for resistances and for the increased melee attack speed as base, because remember, we do need attack speed. Now for the weapons, the bases that you're looking for are the ones that says attack rate very fast. You want very fast attack rate because, again, as I explained earlier, you want to attack as fast as possible with swipe, because the faster you attack, the more sustain you have for rage and for health. So you want to have two very fast attacking weapons. Unfortunately, we did not find a base like this yet. Ideally, I would want to have another one of those before we find our set sword that we actually need for the build. But this is good enough because it has physical damage, has flat cold damage on it, and has chance to chill. So this weapon is good just on the affixes alone. For idols, again, there's not much to say about the idols because we just started running monoliths, and it's all just random stuff that I'm kind of trying to balance resistances with this and maybe some health. This one's a good one because it has a lot of health regen while transformed, so you want to be looking at something like this. Perhaps, there you go, there's another one with health regen while transformed, so between these two, that's a lot of regen that I'm getting. Flat cold damage or percent cold damage like this, and then the rest is all just like resistances, health, resistances. So yeah, at this stage, the build is great. We're freezing everything, we're slamming everything, doing tons of damage, being super tanky. I can't wait to get to Corruption 100 and Empowered Monoliths and try to get the build further and further and further and see how far we can push it. The next goal is to finish all the monoliths, get to Empowered Monoliths, and make another video at that point showing you guys how the build performs at that stage now. If you have any questions on the build or anything else, drop a comment in the comment section below. I'll be responding. I usually respond to every single comment. So, yeah. Thanks for watching, guys. And I will see you on the next video. Keep it real, cuzzy wuzzies.